All right, welcome back to another episode of Befuddled and Confused. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. So we get more followers, more ideas for what to talk about. This idea was supposed to be Liz's idea, but it just happened to work out. We were talking a little bit. So let's talk about work. So what's this topic we're talking about? Explain it.
Um, well, I was telling you that it bothered me that one of my coworkers, refuses to answer any customer in Spanish unless it's a pretty girl, and the customers get mad at him, and I don't see what the big deal is. I mean, he talks better Spanish than he does English. Even my coworkers that are Indian will answer a customer in Spanish if need be, but it's just, I don't get it.
And what I was explaining is I worked for a company for 14 and a half years, and you had to be clean shaven, your sideburns couldn't be so far down, like everything had a rule. And like eventually there became an HR issue because some people were speaking Spanish at work, and not everyone understood Spanish. And that brings up an issue to where it could become a hostile work environment because someone feels, especially in this world that we're in right now, like everyone's sensitive, everyone wants to be woke, everything's about them. Like someone can feel, and we're all about feelings nowadays, that they're talking about them. And then they could go to HR and say it's an HR issue. So what that company, and this was before all this woke crap started.
Yeah.
What that company did was they said English speaking only in the workplace.
So then how do you answer the customer that doesn't know English or whatever?
So that's the catch, right? It was English speaking only at work. However, if the customer needed help, you could talk to them in that language if you knew it. And that goes back to where we're at in society. Like when my family came over and they went through wherever they went through in New York, I forget what it's called, I can't think. They had to assimilate. Like we don't assimilate anymore. And that's where, like our friend Johnny, I was talking to him, like we used to be called a melting pot.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to be called a melting pot anymore. We're now a fruit salad. And I think we talked about this before.
Yeah, we're a melting pot.
Yeah. But we're not. Because we're all a melting pot, we should all speak the same language. And that goes back to what my point was. Like if you go to France, you don't expect them to speak English. When you go to China, you don't expect them to speak English.
But more than likely they do.
But you're assuming, right? Like when you go to another country, you try to learn their language.
At least basic words.
Right.
Yeah.
So why are we not making people learn basic English when they come here?
I don't know, but we're a melting pot.
We're a melting pot. So this goes back to like learning our language, right? What language is our Constitution written in?
English.
So if you don't speak or read a lick of English, how do you know what your rights are?
Well, they have it translated in Spanish. That's like when you go to the DMV. You can get it in English and freaking Chinese, and all these different languages.
True. So I'm going to read this quote, right? Most people are living in an illusion based upon someone else's beliefs. And I use that quote because you're assuming that the Constitution was translated correctly.
True.
You're assuming that the words mean the same thing. Because in Spanish, there are some words that aren't in English.
Yeah, it just translates completely different whether it's English to Spanish or Spanish to English.
So the meaning totally is screwed up.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand the English language, you don't know your rights.
Yeah, I guess.
Pretty fucked up. And the other thing is, like, so like in my community of work, we deal with. I shouldn't say deal with. It's there is a lot of Asians and a lot of Armenians, right? And it's very weird because like the Asian community, like if they don't speak English and someone hears a part of their sentence they can be very offended and a fight can start.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because they're always speaking. I don't know if it's Mandarin or what the language is that this word is, but the word sounds like the N word every time they say it. And I was like, dude, what are you guys saying? You guys can't say that. They're like, what do you mean? And I told them, they're like, oh no, it means, I forget what it means. It means like however or but or something. But like that word, if you say it in the wrong place, can cause a fight.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about is like people can be offended by words and not knowing it's a different language.
Yeah.
And so like if we all speak English, or there are certain languages you have to learn, right? Like in France, I think people are like at least trilingual or bilingual. Like there should be a second language, but who's to say it has to be Spanish?
It doesn't have to be.
But like there should be at least two common. Like if not everyone speaks English, there should be at least two common languages, right? Because most countries speak two languages. But what's that second language?
I don't know, because right here in our melting pot, there's so many.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we didn't assimilate. But my family, when they came back over and they were Italian Americans, they dropped the Italian because I get separated them from being an American, and you weren't allowed to speak English, or you weren't allowed to speak Italian outside the home.
Oh, wow.
Because they wanted you to learn English, because they wanted you to succeed. So this is where I'm coming from. Like I understand, like Spanish is a very beautiful language. Italian is a very beautiful language. Like French is a very beautiful language. However, if you're in America and you want to succeed and you don't know English language, how do you expect to succeed?
You can't.
So aren't you holding people back by not asking them to assimilate and learn the language? Aren't you actually doing them a disservice?
Yeah. And it's not hard. I've seen people that, say they came to this country when they were 18 and actually know someone, he was born here, but then went to live in Mexico. And then, but he speaks perfect English, and he lived over there like almost 20 years.
Right.
And over there, all they did was talk to him in Spanish.
So you from a different culture more recently, right? Because wasn't your dad born in Mexico?
No.
He was born
That's
here?
a U.S. citizen.
Okay, your grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
So your grandpa was born in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
It was my great grandpa that came over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you're more closer and your family still lives in Mexico. Why is it? Can you? And I don't expect you to take on the whole Mexican culture, but why is it Hispanics choose not to learn English? The older generation.
Well, I don't think it's all of them.
The majority, I not all of them, but why do you think people choose not to learn the English language?
Well, because I guess maybe they see it as they don't have to, because people speak Spanish, here anyways.
Not everyone. Like I speak kitchen Spanish, and like my kitchen Spanish is bad. Like I worked at a restaurant, and most of them were calling me pelon, and like I didn't realize like my senior kitchen manager is like, you need to stop to have them call you pelon because they're trying to insult you, even though it means that you have no hair.
Yeah,
they're sort of trying to insult you as you're their manager.
Oh, by just calling you, by that
instead
name.
of showing you respect.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, like I didn't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once again, like if English was a set standard, I would have known. I wouldn't have had someone say, and like I'm sure people say, oh, well, you should learn Spanish. Well, what if my kitchen was all Asian? What if my kitchen was all Indian? Do I have to learn every language?
No, but it'd be helpful.
So how many languages do you know?
2.
So what about your managers that speak their language?
She knows 3.
I know, but what if they're talking? You work for them. You should be expected to learn their language, shouldn't you?
No, but I do know little words in Indian. Their Indian language.
What's their Indian language?
Bengal.
Oh wow! I didn't.
Yeah, she's from Bangladesh, so.
Oh.
Yeah, and then my boss speaks Hindu, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I like to what point do we like say all right, enough's enough? Like we need to have a set language.
That I don't know.
Like why does everyone want to come? And this goes back to a whole bunch of political stuff. Like why come to America if you want to keep what you had?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're fleeing from what you had. Don't you want what's better if you think America's better?
Yeah. And I think people come over here and they only expect their kids to learn, you know,
Right.
the English language.
Yeah.
Then they have their kids translating for them, which isn't as helpful either.
Nope, it's not.
Yeah.
You know? I understand. Like I want to learn Spanish. Like I'm an idiot. So like for example, and I get it, right. So I moved up to Santa Rosa after I lost one of my jobs, and I became a general manager for Sbarro, a pizza place in the freaking food court or whatever. And I never realized the Hispanic community, right? Like my cooks only spoke like they spoke very broken English. They only spoke Spanish. The majority of my customers spoke Spanish, and this is why I want to learn Spanish. It was a very loving community because as I got one thing online where you could learn Spanish. What's it called? Oh, Rosetta Stone. I got Rosetta Stone. So I was getting Rosetta Stone because like before I only knew kitchen Spanish, I was trying to learn more. I try and talk to my customers. Like even though they spoke English, like broken English, like I tried to speak Spanish and they'd work me through it. They were more thankful. Like it was a very loving community. Like them knowing like I didn't speak English, but I was trying to reach out.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the fault of Americans because we don't. I shouldn't say we. I see people making fun of people that don't know how to speak proper English.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the fault. Instead of saying, "Oh, here, let me help you with your language," they say, "Oh, you're an idiot because you don't know the language."
Yeah.
Like there, and there, two, and two.
Yeah.
Our language is pretty screwed up.
Complicated.
Yeah. Like you can read a word, like read and read are spelled the same thing, same way. So it depends how you're reading it or read it in a sentence. You know, like our language is simple, but it's complex.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So let's talk about tell me about like one of your worst customers' experiences this week.
My worst customer's experience.
She works at retail and she has some crazy stories. She's got her hoop earrings on, so she's ready for a fight. So.
I'm trying to think this week. It was probably in this last week. This one guy came in and he was dealing with my coworker, not even me. I was sitting at the desk trying to, fix the computer that we log into. And, he's complaining because he can't buy a beer with EBT cash, My coworker explained to him, you can get cash back and then buy your beer. Anyways, whatever. He ended up cussing out my coworker, And then he points at me. It's like, her. And I was like, okay, what about me? And he's like, she's always, oh, hi, how are you? Have a nice day. And I'm like, what? I was like, is he complaining about my customer service? But I've had words with them, I mean, that isn't even that bad, that's just like, I don't get I mean, isn't that what you're supposed to do when you're working in customer service? Be like, hi, how are you? Have a good day.
Yeah.
But then I got this guy talking crap because I do it.
Yeah.
And, cussing and all this, chaos. And I'm just like, me and my coworker just looked at each other and we're like, okay, I'm like, okay,
So I'm glad I'm out. I still deal with customers. But I'm glad I'm out of that service. Like, oh gosh, like especially in this culture we're in now. Like I couldn't imagine because like I hear your stories, and I can't imagine getting away with what you get away with. Like every field I've worked in, like it's if you looked at someone the wrong way, you could be fired.
Yeah.
If you said something the wrong way, you get fired. And I hear you talk about like you're late and because your customer or your coworker showed up 4 hours late. And I'm like, they still have a freaking job, right? Or like you yelling at a customer and like it being okay. Like,
well, I don't yell at the
bull
customers.
crap.
But I did have a customer a couple weeks ago. He was just a jerk over wearing the mask, you
Right.
know, and constant. It was just, and I was ringing him up and ringing him up, and he just, you know, sometimes a customer goes too far, you know, and he starts telling someone else, you know, women have big balls when they go to work or in this, you know, and they're out in the streets, and you know, as soon as his transaction cleared, I was like, I got bigger balls than you, you know, and he was like, and I told him straight out, I showed him my name tag. I said, you know, I'm usually off on Sundays. I'm like, the number to corporate's on the door. Go ahead and call and make a complaint, you know? I mean, but then I get customers like, you know, a week ago I had a customer, one of my regulars is always nice, you know, and I said, have a nice day. And he's like, where's my receipt, bitch? You know? And I was, you know, I was like in shock. I was like, I didn't cuss him out. I just said, excuse me, did you just cuss at me? You know, and he cussed me out and left. But then he went in 2 days later and was like, you know, he was getting his stuff. You know, I wasn't going to tell him, you know, what was I going to say? Talk crap to him because he called me a bitch 2 days earlier.
Right.
You know, he came to the register and he was like, you know, I'm sorry, miss, for cussing at you the other day. And I just told him, I said, it's okay. We all have our bad days. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
We do. I mean, I'm not out of it. I think it was a month ago. Like, I set up displays for my company or whatever, and I was bringing it into this store. And I was like, okay, I got all my samples. You just got to let me know where you want them set up. Or we got to set them up, right? And he's like, I'm not setting them up. You got to set them up. I was like, I know I have to set up these displays. These are my displays. I always say I'll set them up. However, like, it's your showroom, right? Like, you got to show me where you want them. Whoa, you gotta set them up, you gotta take that down, you gotta take that one down, you gotta move it over there. I was like, dude, like, I'm not here to like rearrange your whole showroom, right? Like, you want me to throw something away, I'll throw it away. He's like, well, I need to use your dolly. I was like, dude, like, you tell me I have to throw away my own displays or my anything that's dropped, but yet now you want me to throw away other people's? Like, no, like I have standards. Like, I'll help you, but I'm not doing this work for you. And he's like, why are you being an asshole, right? He's like, you're just an asshole, you're a punk. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'll take my samples back. I was like, there's plenty of people around here that want to sell my stuff. He's like, you're an asshole. So I started pulling it all out. I started loading in my car. I called the CEO. I was like, dude, the guy that called me an asshole. He's like, yeah, I hear you're upset. I was like, yeah, because, like, I'm trying to do my work. Next thing I know, I go back in to get the rest of my samples. He's like, just leave the samples, I'll set them up. I was like, so I loaded them back, and like now he's like calling me for orders, and it's like, don't be a dick,
Yeah.
right? Like, I understand people have bad days, but don't take it out on people.
Yeah.
Like, it just sucks. And then like this conversation helped me on Friday, right? Because like we're trying to talk more openly about things, and so I went to the store. I had to drop off a sample, and like we started shooting the shit, and she's like, yeah, she brought up something about skin color, right? And she happened to be black. Not happened, she is black. Just, no one happens to be. She is black. And so I was like, can I broach a subject with you, right? Because like I'm white and I'm ignorant, like I want to know stuff. And so we started talking about like Derek Chauvin. We started talking about the 16-year-old that got shot, and like I asked her like her encounters with the cops, and like I stood there for like an hour and a half, and it was a great conversation. And although she is black, I don't think she understands it's not because she's black, right? Because one thing she was talking about, and like she's super smart, right? She's 31 years old. She's from the South. Her husband's from South Central. 2 different backgrounds, right? They're both black. And she, when her now husband moved in, she's like, he saw how she was raising her kids, and he's like, why are you trying to make your kids be white? She's like, I'm not trying to make them be white. I'm trying to make them survive in the world, right? She's like, my kids are not going to leave this house in basketball shorts and a wife beater, or with a do-rag, or with anything on their head. They're going to go out with a t-shirt and jeans, right? And I was like, yeah, like why is that making them white? Because Martin Luther King dressed very nice.
Yeah.
The Black Panthers dressed very nice. Malcolm X dressed very nice, right? Like it's not being white, it's about being presentable. And then the other thing she got into was she got kicked out of her house when she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother got kicked out of the house when she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
Her grandmother got kicked out of the house when she was 16. She recognized this. And so she has her kids, and she's like, I'm going to break the cycle. I told my kids that like I love them, and like I want them to grow up, and I want them to be independent. However, they can stay at home as long as they need to.
Yeah.
I to recognize that cycle, and that's not in the black community. That's just in communities.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's in the Hispanic community, that's in the white community, that's in the Asian community. And I think she might still see it as like her issues are black issues. What they are is socioeconomic issues.
Yeah.
And like it was very enlightening, and like I'm glad like we walked away, and she's like, thank you, like you opened my eyes, and I was like, thank you, you opened my eyes, because now maybe she won't see every white guy with a shaved head that wants to ask a question as like trying to be demeaning. Like I honestly and earnestly wanted to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she's like, yeah, the Micaiah shooting, she could have shot her. They could have shot her in the arm. Like I understand why she was shot. So it's just weird, and she had some issues with the cops. I've had issues with the cops.
Yeah. We probably all have.
Right. Like going around the store. Like we're getting off topic on the language.
That's right.
But like even like going into stores, I've been profiled. I've been followed around. Like if you go into a store and your pants are sagging, you're wearing a hoodie,
Mm-hmm.
you're like dressed like a slob, you're gonna be followed around.
Yeah.
Right? Or like if you're driving a car, your seat's leaned back, your music's blaring, you got sunglasses on, and you're in the wrong part of the neighborhood, you're gonna get profiled. Doesn't matter what race you are.
No. And that's what they're trained to do, profile.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I don't know, going back to the language, so do you believe that we should all learn English, or do you think like we should accommodate?
No, I think we should learn English, but in the process, the people that haven't quite got the language, and if me or one of my coworkers can, communicate with them in their language, then I don't see anything wrong with that.
And right now there isn't an issue, right? Because like we all have phones, and so why don't you say something in Spanish?
¿Cómo estás?
Oh, did it work?
I don't think so.
Okay. When I hit record, do something in Spanish.
¿Cómo estás?
How are you?
Yeah.
Right? So like we have this on our phone nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we should be more accepting. Like, hey, I don't understand what you're saying. You might not be able to ask them what language they're speaking, but you could go onto the website or their little app, and like it could say what language you need to get it translated from. Be more accepting and tell people understand.
Yeah.
And then you could speak back in English, and it'll translate into their language. Do you know you even had that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Translator.
I'm ignorant. I didn't know it came on our phone.
I know English and Spanish, so I don't. I've actually used it when I wanted to learn certain words in, the Indian language, whatever. So. But it doesn't translate on all of them.
It doesn't?
No. So I would ask my coworkers, how do you say this? Like I remember I had asked my manager, how do you say hurry up? And she said it's chetty chetty.
Chetty.
Yeah. But then when I tried to Google it on one of those apps, it didn't quite come out right.
Why is it not changing? How does it change it? Yeah. So, what else do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
I think that was pretty good. I mean, like we didn't get to a conclusion, right?
No.
However, like understanding, like you can't depend on other people. And what I mean by that is just the basis of understanding your rights, especially in the world we're living in. Like if you're expecting our Constitution to be translated into your language, it will be. But words...
It might change.
Yeah, the wording is different. So the meaning is different. Like if you go back to the Bible, in the old Bible, in the English language, we only have one word for love. But in the original language of the Bible, there's different words. Like there's love for your brother, love for your sister, love for your mother, love for your friend, love for people. And it does, and it's not the word love. Like it's a different word.
Mm-hmm.
But English is simplified compared to that language. So like all we have is the word love,
Mm-hmm.
and so we don't understand the meaning of what it means to love your brother according to the Bible.
Yeah.
Just like, what does it mean to bear arms? Like, how do you translate that into Spanish?
I have no idea.
Right. You have the right to bear
I
arms.
failed Spanish in
Yeah.
high school.
So we have the right to bear arms, and the government can't infringe upon that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you translate that into Spanish? Maybe someone will tell me you're an idiot, might get translated easy.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let me know. But does it truly translate to what we mean in our English language?
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. Like, all right, like everything's translated. Like that's why you see all these idiots driving. Like, do they really understand the translation on the DMV?
Yeah.
I've seen you drive. Just
No.
kidding.
Aye.
So that's it. If you guys like this episode, let us know. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. And since Lizzie didn't come up with a topic this week, we'll force her to come up with one next week. Thanks.